a childhood memory for me from like 1975, something like that, was the Christmas I got Paddington moulds. They were from a company called Plaster Casters, and they were these rubber moulds, and you poured plaster of Paris in them and you got various things. And my favourite one was the Paddington, and I spent ages making lots of Paddingtons and painting them. I was very proud of these Paddingtons, and they came up again in conversation. I was like, I really want to do one of those again. Looked everywhere. They are now collector's items. You can't get the moulds for love nor money. But I did happen to have one of the ones I made. He's a little more battered than I remember, but you know, lovingly made by me in 1970. So what I'm going to do is make a mould from him. So you can see what I've done already is stick him onto a board. I've done a little bit of tidying up where there was some chips, so I've like put some resin in there, sanded a little bit just to get that smooth again, and I'm just working on the base around here to see if I can get a nice clean join at the bottom. I mean, really, the Paddington should only be, looking at pictures online, he should only be stood there like on his boots. So the bottom bit doesn't matter, except for when the plaster or the rubber gets in underneath, it makes the mould a little difficult. So I'm going to just try and tidy this up a little bit, and then we'll start making a mould out of him. So I've gone for a little bit of wood filler on the bottom. That way the rubber can't get in underneath it and cause a problem. So I'll tidy that up before I start doing rubber. This is the rubber I use. It's silicone. Yeah. Liquid latex. There we go. And the first couple of coats you just brush on native, so like raw, and then the next sets you do with like a thickener on it. It goes on layer after layer. It takes about 4 or 5 hours to dry between layers, and you have to do between 10 and 20 layers. The first test one I did 15. That seemed pretty good, so we'll do that. It's pretty thin, just goes on. First time I was doing this on a test mould that I had, I was pretty nervous, but having done it once now, I'm all right about it. It'll go on, it'll dry, and it'll peel off. A lot of the stuff was talking about using mould release and all that sort of stuff, and then there was like oh no, you don't need mould release, you just need, it'll come off. Well, I'm pretty confident this will come off once it's dry. So you give them the kind of milky coat first, and what will happen then is this will dry out. Give yourself a big base like this. Yeah, he'll dry out. It'll go like clear, and we'll do lots of coats. And that's what layer 1 dries like, completely see-through. So when I was doing the test one, I was very concerned about that. But onto layer 2. So that's coat 2 dry. Probably a little wet down there, but that's fine. This is where it gets interesting. So now we move on to using the same stuff, but it has thickener in it. So it comes with the kit. You basically pour some in, mix of 10 to 1, and it's much thicker. So this goes on a little more thicker, and that's where you start to get your strength in your layers. So that's layer 8 drying, and as you can see, it starts to, like, look, you can't see through it now, whereas it's been very transparent. Now it starts to take on that rubber mould look. Got another 7 to go to make it robust, but yeah, good. There he is drying out after his 12th coat. Very nearly there. I think we'll go to 15 with this guy, and then we'll see how we get on. So there he is after 15 coats, and actually I think that's good enough. If I go much thicker, it's going to become unworkable. So I think I'm going to try and take that one off. So let's see. Okay, so here goes. I'm going to try and get this off. It's the nervous bit. So this bit peels up pretty good. I'd already sort of pre-peeled around the edge to give myself a lip to grip onto. Ooh. Okay, so that's going to be the wood filler I put on. Bit of chipping going on. When I was a kid, the problem was pulling these too soon, the plaster would break. Well, this plaster's had 40 years to set, so yeah, I've done the right thing not putting extra layers on this. It's quite tough. And the trick is to pull out and away when you get to these bits. Well, the original bear's pretty intact underneath. Oh, yeah, that's a full-on mould. Okay, got it up to his shoulder. Okay. Okay, over his honey pot. Okay, so in pretty good shape. A little bit down here, but that's mostly where I'd sanded and stuff. Yeah, that's where I've sanded, so I kind of loosened up the paint. So hopefully, now the hard bit, over his snout. Okay, where's his snout? Okay, so snout's right there. Here we go. And off. So this, where the black paint's come off, is literally where I've done a bit of tidying up and sanding. But other than that, he's in good shape. He came out well. I mean, considering that paint went on in 1974, that's pretty good. Right, cool. And there you have it. So, pretty good thing. He'll go that way. All I need now is for my plaster of Paris to show up, and I will be able to do a test cast of him. But I think that's gone well. So here's some bonus content. I've been making that mould, that's been great. But then I managed to buy this. £2.25 back in the 70s. This was £20, right? So it's quite a lot. But in here is an original 1970s mould. How amazing is that? It's a bit squished. It feels a little bit thin to me. But if I can get one good mould out of that, then I will have Paddington in his pyjamas, and then I can cast another more robust one off that, and this can go back in the collector's item box. But yeah, I need to try and get one, so I will cast that one alongside the mould we just made. Molds that I've made, I'm very confident with them. So this one, I've got like a box thing, and I just put it there. That one sits nicely inside that jar, so that'll be fine. So I mix up this, pour it in, right? This one, I may have to do a little bit by hand. We'll see how we get on. Oh, no, see it fell down this side already. Ah! So I look like I'm doing some sort of drug deal. So the Plaster of Paris is a 2-to-1 mix. So I've put in 2.5 of these and 3 of these and 1.5 cups of water. I'm hoping it gives me enough to do all these moulds in one hit. But frankly, if it doesn't, I'll just mix up a little bit more and top them off. I've got enough time to work with it. I remember from the day, the trick was to try to not introduce air into it so you kind of fold it rather than whisk it, but you definitely want to get all of the white powder mixed in. That looks about right. I'm confident with my 2 moulds I made that they can take a fairly wet mix. They're thick, they should be good. We'll have to see about the 70's mould. So, all that puppy in there. That's one. Maybe not. Oh, well, that's interesting. I'm going to have just about enough to do 2 here. So when I'm doing batch moulding, I guess when I'm doing 3 at a time, I'm going to need to put in 4 cups. Yeah, 4 cups of plaster, 1 cup of Paris. Okay. Ooh. I had to remove the audio here because I had the radio playing. YouTube doesn't like music in the background. But I made up a fairly wet mix, got the 70's mould out and tried to pour the new plaster of Paris into it. It immediately started leaking. There was a couple of rips appeared. I mean, the rubber just didn't want to know. It perished. Under his nose it went. I mean, it kind of held for a bit. The good news is that the plaster of Paris like sets up really, really quickly. I mean, crazily quickly. Maybe I'm not doing it enough. So I was able to just bring it out, hold it in my hand, pour more plaster of Paris in, and try and get it quicker than the plaster of Paris was coming out the bottom. And then it's sort of setting the holes and all that sort of stuff. So I ended up with a mould that worked. Well, now the exciting bit for the tall Paddington I've been making. So let's see. It's set pretty well. Obviously have to smooth down that top there, but let's see. Oh. Suitcase not bad. I've got an air bubble there. Oh. It's pretty good. Up to his nose. Right, so oh, well, that's not bad at all. That is not bad. I'm really pleased with that, actually. A little bit of sanding. A little bit of filling, maybe. He'll be fine. Good job. So this is the 1970s guy I got out. If you look at that nose, that's on a good cast. And you can see there's a bit collapsed in there. And his pores didn't really flesh out properly. It's not terrible. His hat's a little bit caved in there. But I guess compared to the other hat, maybe not. Get around the back. I think that's pretty good, actually. He hasn't got like the coat on, so that's why he hasn't got any buttons there. That would all be painted. So I think I will let him dry out so I don't break him. I think then I'm going to build up this bit of his face right here, so it looks like that, and then carve it back. Just tidy up his nose. I think I'll tidy out his pores a little bit and then put the bare pads on the bottom. probably, I don't know, not too much. Make that button come out a bit more. And then I will put him, get him all dry. I'll get a coat of paint on him, or varnish maybe, and I will make one of the thicker latex moulds, because there's no chance that 70's mould is going to hold. So for the pyjama bear, I'm pretty happy with the outcome. I had to build certain bits of him, of the model, back up with resin, do some sanding, and I had to sort of reinstate some of the detail. But in general, oops, that slid. But in general, he's come out really well. He looks great. I've managed to get one good cast. The reason I paint them single colour like that is so I can look at the, the detail without worrying about different shades and that stuff. I just paint it a single colour. So he's stuck onto his board, and will be when that glue dries, and we'll make a mould out of him. Well, there he is after 13 coats. That looks pretty good to me. I think I'm going to try and take that off. I did do one with 15 before, and the mould became quite difficult to work with. So let's take him off, see how my repairs worked, see if we can cast a new bear from him. Right, let's see. Oh yeah, the base seemed to go well where I filled in those bits. That's worked. Now the hard bit, can I get it off his nose without pulling off that filling that I did? That feels easy to work with, that's for sure. Okay, I'm at the hard bit. Nope, that seems to have come off fine. There we go. Not sure the camera caught that, but basically it came off well. That's him inside out. Still obviously got black paint, but that should come off in the first couple of casts. But I'm quite pleased with that. We'll get a plaster cast of that and see how it looks. So here's the bear, full of plaster. I got this mix wrong. When I went back to look, there was like a pool of water there. So I'm not sure I've done a very strong mix here. I'm going to try and take this off and see what happens. So here we go. Now, I'm probably suffering from the same mistake I used to make when I was a kid, which is it's too soon to take this off. But I'm guessing it's not a complex model, so let's see. Right, if he's going to break, this is where he's going to break. I'm going to rip his head off. Oh, no. Well, there you go. As expected, lots of black paint came off on the model, on the first model. And because he didn't fill up properly, he sat a bit back. But not bad, not bad. I mean, the face is great, right? Where I built up that looks great. The eyes have come through well. The detail on him's pretty good. So I think I will leave him to dry. I don't think the paws are a bit too much. I think I'd probably sand those down before I paint it. They look more like claws. But that's just a case of sandpapering. But that's not bad. So that says I now have a Paddington sitting in his pyjamas mould that works. I will add one to that. While I was at it, I did another Paddington standing up. Let's get him out of there. see this mould, I did 15 coats on this. And that feels really tight. Yeah, I've still got water in that one. Well, not bad. I guess if anything, the water helps it flow off. But yeah, I'm not doing 15 layers again. Oh, well, he's pretty good. We like him. He's not got any air bubbles or anything. That's good. And I poured myself a Paddington sitting on a suitcase. The thickest mould that I've made. Yeah, a lot of water. But look at that, beautiful. So what happens is when you make the moulds too thick, not a lot, but if you make the water, if you make it too watery, looks like you get some cracking. You get less air bubbles. I mean, it's really picked up the details well, but less cracking. Right, we'll stand those up to dry. Okay, so let's try again. This time I've managed to fill it right to the bottom. I didn't have that issue with the water, so I've obviously got the mix right. He feels pretty full. So let's take him out of there. And there we have him. So, sitting well. Actually, I don't mind his toes this time. They don't look too bad. That black is giving it a kind of an antique look. But yeah, pretty good cast now. Let's have a look at the face. Come on, focus. There we go. So that's the end of that video. I know it went on a bit, sorry about that, but I got quite enthusiastic about it. I'm going to be doing some more Paddington stuff. I've got some more moulds and things to do. So if you want to subscribe and follow along, that would be great. We'll have a whole Paddington playlist going. But if you want to get in touch, I'm obviously going to have a few Paddingtons left over. So if you want to do some with your kids, let me know. Other than that, I will see you on the next one.